kakarwambana ku makuza ngira ngo gasintinda ngira imbaraga simbashwe iserija ku rugamba nindakumirwa aharanira ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda burya umugabo nusohoza ubutumwa bwamutumye ntaniganywe ijambo ahorana umurava mu byakora byose nk'umwana w'u Rwanda aharanira ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda kapiteni ku rugamba yaritanze aharanira ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda koroneri ku rugamba ntiyahatanze aharanira ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda burya umugabo nusohoza ubutumwa bwamutumye ntaniganywe ijambo ahorana umurava mu byakora byose nk'umwana w'u Rwanda aharanira ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda generali ku rugamba yaritanze aharanira ishema ry'abanyarwanda iyo mu mahanga mwaritanze muharanira ishema ry'abanyarwanda burya umugabo nusohoza ubutumwa bwamutumye ntaniganywe ijambo ahorana umurava mu byakora byose nk'umwana w'u Rwanda aharanira ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda burya umugabo nusohoza ubutumwa bwamutumye ntaniganywe ijambo ahorana umurava mu byakora byose nk'umwana w'u Rwanda aharanira ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda. Burya umugabo nusohoza ubutumwa bwamutumye ntaniganywe ijambo ahorana umurava mu byakora byose nk'umwana w'u Rwanda aharanira ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda isoruda ku rugamba yaritanze aharanira ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda kaporari ku rugamba yanze kuganwa aharanira ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda burya umugabo nusohoza ubutumwa bwamutumye ntaniganywe ijambo ahorana umurava mu byakora byose nk'umwana w'u Rwanda aharanira ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda. Rwanda itajengwa na nani vijana,
Rwanda itajengwa na sisi wenyewe,
Kigali itajengwa na nani vijana,
Kigali itajengwa na sisi wenyewe,
Butare itajengwa na nani vijana,
Butare itajengwa na sisi wenyewe,
Gisenyi itajengwa na nani vijana,
Gisenyi itajengwa na sisi wenyewe,
Wengeri itajengwa na nani vijana,
Wengeri itajengwa na sisi wenyewe,
Changugu itajengwa na nani vijana,
Changugu itajengwa na sisi wenyewe, na sisi wenyewe, yeah, na sisi wenyewe, yeah, na sisi wenyewe, yeah, na sisi wenyewe, yeah.
Kibungo itajengwa na nani vijana,
Kibungo itajengwa na sisi wenyewe,
Mutara itajengwa na nani vijana,
Mutara itajengwa na sisi wenyewe,
itajengwa na nani vijana?
Kibuye itajengwa na sisi wenyewe.
Muhanga itajengwa na nani vijana?
Muhanga itajengwa na sisi wenyewe. Na sisi wenyewe, yeah. Na sisi wenyewe, yeah. Na sisi wenyewe, yeah. Na sisi wenyewe, yeah.
Jeshi litajengwa na nani vijana?
Jeshi litajengwa na sisi wenyewe.
Polisi itajengwa na nani? Jenga jenga taifa lako, jenga jenga taifa lako. Nia tunayo kabisa, uwezo tunao kabisa, sababu tunayo kabisa, nguvu tunazo kabisa. Asante Mungu Baba, sote tunashukuru. Asante raia wote, asante wasanii wenzangu, asante shabiki wangu, sote tujenge taifa. Yule anafanya corruption, huyo hajengi taifa. Yule analeta ubaguzi, huyo hajengi taifa. Yule halipi ushuru, huyo hajengi taifa. Nawe ukiwa mlevi, ujengi taifa lako. Amuka wacha kulala, jenga taifa lako. Jenga jenga taifa lako, jenga jenga taifa lako. Nia tunayo kabisa, uwezo tunao kabisa, sababu tunayo kabisa, nguvu tunazo kabisa. Jenga jenga taifa lako, jenga jenga taifa lako. Nia tunayo kabisa, uwezo tunao kabisa, sababu tunayo kabisa, nguvu tunazo kabisa. Usione unene wake, atajenga taifa lake. Usione wembamba wake, atajenga taifa lake. Usione mapua yake, atajenga taifa lake. Usijali kabila lake, atajenga taifa lake. Hata kama ye mfupi, atajenga taifa lake. Ukitunza mke wako, unajenga taifa lako. Ukisomesha watoto wako, unajenga taifa lako. Piga kura na hekima, jenga taifa lako. Jenga jenga taifa lako, jenga jenga taifa lako. Nia tunayo kabisa, uwezo tunao kabisa, sababu tunayo kabisa, nguvu tunazo kabisa. Jenga taifa lako, jenga jenga taifa lako. Nia tunayo kabisa, uwezo tunao kabisa, sababu tunayo kabisa, nguvu tunazo kabisa. Jenga jenga taifa lako, jenga jenga taifa lako. tabia tunayo kabisa, uwezo tunao kabisa, sababu tunayo kabisa, nguvu tunazo kabisa. batwisingegera kandi batwitinya Rwanda tubakubise umuriro basaba imishyikirano
Tibuye cyangwa ngo gisenge tuharyame amajanja barukara nkaba muzagere urakuba
14 120 sarokire nakatisha arapigimere abasore twarotashe
bakubiswe umuriro bakwirishwa bahungera igikongoro bakagira ngo si mu Rwanda we
uke dufata kabayi tubohora baboshye ab'Inyanza amayaga ababyeyi bavuza impundu
14 120 sarokire nakatisha arapigimere abasore twarotashe
haba ku izuba ry'impeshyi cyangwa mu mvura y'amahindu haba n'inzara n'inyota inkotanyi turakomeza
14 120 sarokire nakatisha arapigimere abasore twarotashe 14 120 sarokire nakatisha arapigimere abasore twarotashe
twirinde ruswa n'ibirindi byose bidindiza u Rwanda umutungo w'abaruhuko ucungwe n'abavuka Rwanda cyane muzo wamuka Rwanda tubakurwa tujyanye amaboko y'abaruhuka ntiyazubaka u Rwanda tubahiriza ikiremwamuntu ducyura impunzi z'u Rwanda ubumwe n'ubwiyunge nibwo buzubaka u Rwanda twirinde ruswa n'ibindi byose bidindiza u Rwanda umutungo w'abaruhuko ucungwe n'abavuka Rwanda cyane muzo wamuka Rwanda tubakurwa tujyanye amaboko y'abaruhuka ntiyazubaka u Rwanda
Rugamba
turi impunzi z'u Rwanda ubumwe n'ubwiyunge nibwo buzubaka u Rwanda
Waje rwasa rugamba rugero rw'imbuga z'amarere ziharanira amahoro n'ubumwe bw'abanyarwanda.
Your Excellency, High Commissioner of Rwanda in Ghana, and your team, host of this important event, distinguished leaders and guest speakers, retired Lieutenant Colonel Ndole Rulinda, Commissioner for Peace and Security in the Pan-African Movement, Rwanda chapter, and Mr. Zephanie Nyonguru, Deputy CEO of Rwanda Development Board, invited guests, representatives of the government of Ghana, our host country, in particular from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. Dear friends, members of Rwanda community in Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Benin, and Togo, and friends in Rwanda and other countries, good afternoon all. Nyireneza. We are very pleased to be here today to celebrate the 27th anniversary of Rwanda liberation, KWIBOHORA mu Kinyarwanda. Invited guests, in the name of the High Commission of Rwanda in Ghana, we are very pleased to welcome those of you who have been able to join us at the Chancellery today, as well as those following online. We apologize for late start, but we are happy that we are able to come together and celebrate. Liberation Day reminds us the day when the Rwandan Patriotic Army put an end to the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi and opened a new era of hope to the Rwandan community. We are gathered here to celebrate the great achievement of the country since then and to pay tribute to women and men who committed their lives to the noble cause, the liberation of the country. At the same time, it's an opportunity for us to reaffirm our responsibilities as citizens to continue contributing to the achievement of the vision of our leaders of continuous development and promotion of the well-being of the population. More details will be provided by the guest speakers. I would like to remind us the key item on the agenda. I think you all have a copy. Our celebration will start with the national anthems of the two countries, Rwanda and Ghana, after which we will have the first remarks of Her Excellency, the High Commissioner of Rwanda in Ghana, Dr. Isa Kirabo Kakira, followed by the speech of the Liberation Day by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. The speech will be followed by a video of Liberation 27, the journey of development after 27 years. The video will be followed by two important presentations. As I mentioned, the first presentation on the history of the liberation struggle by retired Lieutenant Colonel Ndole Rulinda, and the second presentation on the vision we are building for the Rwanda we want by Mr. Zefanini Nkuru. After the two presentations, we will have interventions from representatives of our Rwandan community from every country under the High Commission's jurisdiction. Finally, we will have the vote of thanks from the Rwanda community chairperson in Ghana, Mr. Bikorimana Francois. I'm very honored and delighted to be your moderator today. My name is Josephine Mkakarisa, a member of the Rwandan community in Ghana. Again, a warm welcome to you all, to our Chancellery. It's a joy today as we celebrate the Rwanda Liberation Day. So you should start greeting each other so that we start our celebration today. Thank you. Now we can raise up for the national anthems, starting for the anthem of Rwanda. Yeah, now we would like to have the remarks of Her Excellency, the High Commissioner of Rwanda in Ghana.
Murakoze. Thank you, our moderator, my dear sister Josephine. Thank you very much. Representatives of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration of Ghana, and senior officials of government and state institutions with us here of the Republic of Ghana, my dear brother and our friend, Professor Clement colleague diplomats, private sector leaders and captains of civil society with us today, leaders of the Rwandan community in the countries of our jurisdiction, here present and those following us online, members of the press, members of the Rwandan community, distinguished representatives of a wider community of friends of Rwanda here with us today, the many Rwandans and friends of Rwanda joining us online, as I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Good afternoon to you all. Allow me first to start by kindly conveying apologies for the delay. We were engaged in an event with senior most leaders, and it took a bit of a while, so we couldn't be here on time. But thank you so much for your patience. It still will not steal our joy, because today we are here to celebrate. It is with great joy that I welcome you all, those here physically with us, and the many who are joining us virtually, to this celebration of the 27th anniversary of our country's liberation, organized today by the High Commission in close collaboration and partnership with our Rwandan community in the countries of our jurisdiction. When we celebrate our liberation, it is deep. Rwanda's Liberation Day, as you all know, is celebrated every 4th of July. And as custom, all Rwandans and friends of Rwanda across the world join us in our national celebrations. I want to thank every one of you who was with us in our celebrations on that day and joined us online and followed the various activities, as well as the key message by His Excellency, our President, President Paul Kagame. Whenever we convene to celebrate, we reflect and honor the women and men of the Rwanda Patriotic Army and the Rwandan Patriotic Front, who, led by our President, His Excellency Paul Kagame, sacrificed the youth. They sacrificed themselves for the liberation of our people and our country. We will forever be deeply grateful for that sacrifice. As we look back, we also hold on to and celebrate the values and the principles that these great leaders continue to pursue in our liberation. And in so doing, we are inspired individually and collectively to continue to play our part in building the Rwanda we want, as enshrined in our Vision 2050. If one was to ask you, what is the Rwanda we want, what will it look like? How would we define it? A united Rwanda. A Rwanda with a people having all a high income and considered as a high income country, with inclusive and sustainable socio-economic development. On this note, I would like to commend the progress that has been made so far and the contribution of our distinguished people-centered leadership in this journey, working together with Rwandans to own our destiny and always strive to progress in spite of the various challenges. It is right to say that the laudable gains that Rwanda has achieved these past years has come from the hard work and commitment of every good-intentioned Rwandan, and I would like to pay tribute to you all, dear compatriots. I also want to pay tribute to the friends of Rwanda who have worked with us during this whole process. We really thank you and deeply honor you. Thank you. We thank you. It is also very inspiring that it has become a practice that when we celebrate the 4th of July, we actually showcase tangible progress that has been made that is impacting the life of ordinary Rwandans. It is not just sitting and maybe singing and feeling good about it. It is actually showcasing tangible things, activities, life-changing effort that has been made. This year, it was the Chinigi Integrated Model Village, complete with all the necessary socio-economic amenities that the community of 144 families previously living in precarious conditions were able to achieve. It was inaugurated. For those of you who haven't been able to see it kindly, you can watch this online. We celebrate this socio-economic milestone and many others that have been achieved over the years before it. As will be shared by the various speakers that we are honored to have with us today, and I would like to thank them. I'd like to thank retired Lieutenant General Rwanda, and I would like to thank also the Deputy CEO of RDB, Zephanie Nyonhuru, for their presence they'll be sharing with us. A lot more really will be highlighted by them. The achievements we celebrate resulted from the choices that Rwandans have made. First, the choice to stay together and guard our unity against all circumstances. Second, the choice to hold one another accountable, first as Rwandans, and enable systems of accountability to be built so that we can define and own our destiny. Thirdly, the choice to think big, unrestricted in our dreams and aspirations, and deliberately, intentionally, learning only from our history and geography, but never allowing it to be a prison for us. We are not limited in thinking by our resources. We let ourselves think big, and we seek for resources together. This journey has not been easy, but the resilience of our people and the focused, visionary leadership has steered us ahead. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, friends of Rwanda and Rwandans, the Rwandan story is not isolated on our continent. The stories may differ in some ways, but there's so much we have in common with our other sister countries on our continent. Therefore, as we celebrate today, we also want to thank our sisters and brothers who have stood with us through this journey, and more specifically our host country, Ghana. We thank you for the strong you. We thank you for the strong collaboration that has continued to grow in the same way. We'd also like to acknowledge this similar trend with the other countries within our jurisdiction. The strong collaboration, cooperation, and relationship with which we have continued to have with Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. Together we have a lot to learn from each other and also share. Africa is determined to unify. Accountability is increasing on the continent, and indeed we are together thinking big and bringing the reality of our big dreams, like the Continental Free Trade Area that we are celebrating today in Ghana. Actually, the event that I was in was to do with a function at AFCTA. and various heads of government were there. We celebrate as Africa. Even with the current COVID-19 challenge, we have seen African countries and our senior-most leaders, our heads of government, united and collaborating and fighting it. So determined, we are moving forward. Fellow Rwandans, allow me to once again call upon you to continue playing your part or our part, and especially those of us in the diaspora, we must intentionally seek to stay connected to home. We must build upon this strong relationship with our sister countries to nurture further the relationship we have and forge stronger partnerships in business, trade, education, and other areas. A special call to our youth to boldly and intentionally seek to grow in knowledge and skills and continue serving with excellence in whichever capacity or expertise, upholding the same values that defined our liberation struggle, including patriotism, resilience, focus, and discipline. Together, let us always confront any diversionary forces that seek to detract us and delay our progress with truth. Once again, happy 27th Liberation Day. Murakoze. And thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for the great word. I think we all heard a call to stay together and to stay committed to build a strong country with big dreams in our communities in diaspora, to stay intentionally connected to our country and build partnerships where we are to contribute to our country's development. Thank you so much. A round of applause to the High Commissioner. Thank you. Now, let's all pay attention to the remarks of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, for his speech on KWIBOHORA 27.
Banyarwanda, inshuti z'u Rwanda, ndabasuhuje mwese kandi mbifurije umunsi mwiza wo kwibohora. Imyaka 27 irashize, Abanyarwanda twishyize hamwe tubohora igihugu cyacu. Kuva icyo gihe twiyemeje gukorera hamwe buri munsi kugira ngo twubake umuryango nyarwanda ndetse duhindure u Rwanda igihugu cyiza kuri buri wese. Mfashe uyu mwanya ngo mbe bashimire. Uyu munsi u Rwanda ntabwo ari igihugu ku ikarita gusa. Kuri twe bivuze igihugu buri wese yishimira kandi kimuteye ishema, kinamukeneye. U Rwanda tubona ubu rusobanuye icyizere, rusobanura ko dufatanya, buri wese akita kuri mugenzi we. Umudugudu w'icyitegererezo wa Kinigi watashywe uyu munsi, kimwe n'indi mishinga ijyanye no guteza imbere abaturage yakozwe n'ingabo z'igihugu ku bufatanye n'izindi nzego, birerekana ugushyira hamwe nk'Abanyarwanda kandi twabigize umuco. Ndashaka nabyo kubibashimira. Uyu mwaka ntitwashoboye kwizihiza isabukuru yo kwibohora uko bisanzwe. Ni nayo mpamvu tugomba gukomeza urugamba rwo kurwanya ubwiyongere bwa COVID muri iki gihe. Ubu ni ngombwa ndetse ni ngombwa cyane ugereranije n'ibihe byatambutse gukurikiza ingamba zishyirwaho na Minisiteri y'Ubuzima n'ibindi bigo hagamijwe gukumira ikwirakwizwa rya COVID no kurokora ubuzima bw'Abanyarwanda. Turashaka ko umunyarwanda wese agira ubuzima bwiza kandi akisanzura, bityo akabyaza umusaruro amahirwe yose aboneka mu gihugu, haba mu burezi, mu gushaka akazi no kwihangira imirimo. Ibikorwa byacu byo guteza imbere ubukungu bw'u Rwanda n'imibereho myiza bigomba gukomeza kandi bikihuta. Iterambere ntirigarukira mu gihugu, tugomba kurenga imbibi z'igihugu. Turashaka gukomeza guteza imbere ubufatanye bushingiye ku bwubahane n'iterambere, yaba hamwe n'abaturanyi bacu mu karere ndetse no ku isi hose. Kurwanya no gutsinda COVID ni imwe mu nzira yo gukomeza ibikorwa byo kwibohora. Muri iyi minsi tugiye kubona izindi nkingo zidufasha kongera ubwirinzi bw'umubiri, duhereye ku barusha abandi ibyago byo kwandura COVID. Turifuza n'uko zigera ku Banyarwanda benshi uko bizagenda bishoboka. Ariko mu rwego rwo kwigira, turakora ibishoboka byose ngo twubake ubushobozi bwo gukora inkingo n'indi miti mu Rwanda. Ibi bizagabanya guhora twiringiye imiti ituruka hanze y'igihugu, itabonekera igihe cyangwa itangwa hagendewe ku zindi nyungu. Ariko birasaba igihe kandi tugomba kwihangana. Hagati aho buri wese afite uruhare runini mu kuba maso no guhindura imikorere kugira ngo tubashe kugabanya ibyago byo kwandura virusi yandurira mu mwuka. Tugomba kumva akamaro ko kwirinda ubwacu no kurinda abandi kugira ngo igihugu cyacu kibashe gutsinda vuba iki cyorezo. Abanyarwanda dufite byinshi tugomba gukorera hamwe kandi dukwiriye kugira icyizere cy'ejo hazaza heza. Twizere ko tuzakomeza uru rugendo hamwe. Reka nongere mbashimire kandi mbifurize mwese ubuzima bwiza n'umunsi mwiza wo kwibohora.
More applause. Thank you. We are proud to be behind great leaders, putting emphasis on the change of habit to prevent the spread of COVID-19, to keep people healthy, so that we can all contribute to the development we wish. Thank you. The next on our agenda is a video on KWIBOHORA 27, the journey of development after 27 years of liberation.
Iyo mbonye aho u Rwanda rwacu rugeze, mbona harabayeho ubufatanye hagati y'abaturage n'urwego rw'ubuyobozi mu nzego zigiye zitandukanye. Habayeho kumva ko ugomba kwiteza imbere wowe ubwawe udategereje akimuhana.
Iyo uvuye mu bibazo ariko aho ugiye bikagusanga yo gutaribohora. Kwibohora ni ukubyiyambura, ariko naho ugenda unyura ubivuyemo ukagenda uharinda kugira ngo bitabona aho binyura bigukurikira. Hari imyaka abantu baraga badasinziriye, uhora wikanga ikintu. Uyu munsi abanyamahanga bagenderera u Rwanda cyangwa abandi bantu badatuye mu Rwanda nibo bashaka kuguha neza ubuhamya bw'ukuntu u Rwanda rugengwa amanywa n'ijoro.
Kwibohora ni muri cya gihe uba ubona ugomba kwikorera ibyawe, utagomba kwikorerwa n'abandi bakwizihiza ibyiza byabo, kandi ufite nawe ibyiza ushobora kwiha uburenganzira bwawe.
Kuba Kigali abantu bayibona isa gutya ntabwo ariko yasaga mu myaka mike yishize. Ibi ngibi ni iterambere ry'igihugu kandi ryihuta. Nka Kigali rero nk'umurwa mukuru w'igihugu birumvikana yuko ibintu byinshi niho bihera.
Kwibohora nk'uko bigaragara ko ari iterambere cyangwa se urugendo rutuganisha ku iterambere. Twahoranye ibyiza nyaburanga, twahoranye amaparike meza, twahoranye igihugu cyiza, ariko ubu ngubu kubera ubuyobozi bwiza bwabishyizemo imbaraga, abantu barasura u Rwanda cyane. U Rwanda rumaze kugera ahantu rumenyekana mu ruhando mpuzamahanga, cyane cyane ko ari imwe muri segiteri zigira uruhare runini mu bukungu bw'igihugu. Abantu baturiye aho hantu cyangwa se abanyagihugu muri rusange, amahoteli, abagide bo mu maparike babasha kubonaho imirimo nabo bakiteza imbere. Nanjye naba ngiye kuhafotora ngo nereke umunyamahanga ku byiza bitatse u Rwanda, nkaba nagurisha iyo foto ikanyinjiriza amafaranga nka rwiyemezamirimo w'umunyarwandakazi.
Iyo nkiri umwana njyewe najyaga mbona nk'imihanda yagiye igenda ukabona ruzamutse ukagenda ukabona ahantu harafunganye wese bubaka n'amazu, mugaca muri korodoro mukongera mugatungukira mu wundi muhanda. Nkibaza kuki umuhanda batawukomeje ngo bawushyiremo n'umuhanda wundi, bikancanga. Ariko kugeza ubu kano kanya ndimo ndatungurwa n'imihanda nagiye mbona remezo uko yose bamara yubaka bayihuza n'indi mihanda, ugasanga imihahirane n'imigenderane bisigaye bigendeka neza.
Mu Rwanda twageze mu bintu byinshi, harimo uburinganire hagati y'umugore n'umugabo. Bikaba bigaragara cyane muri parlement, aho umubare w'abagore ari mwinshi kurusha umubare w'abagabo. Nta numva icyo kintu ari ikintu twagombye kwishimira.
Ngarutse kuri COVID-19, twese twarabibonye ukuntu u Rwanda rwakiriye ko COVID yaje, no kwirinda muri rusange, kandi nk'abanyarwanda tukagerageza kubyubahiriza. Ibyo bikanaturinda ingaruka nyinshi za COVID nubwo zidasiba kutugeraho buri munsi.
Kurwanya ubukene ni intambara, kurwanya ubujiji ni intambara, guharanira kugira imibereho myiza ni intambara. Igihugu rero gihora mu ntambara zitandukanye, zose ziharanira kugira ngo abaturage bacyo bagire imibereho myiza, bibohore no mu bitekerezo, bibohore mu bintu bitandukanye.
Hari turi murajyaga numva kera, sinzi bakidukoresha kugeza ubu ngubu, bayavuga ngo bariya bana bitwa bakajorite bakunze u Rwanda baritanga, nimukabababaze mujye mubafasha, burya n'abagabo ngenda bashima. Ni ukuvuga ngo rero harimo abagize uruhare mu kuba bino bintu twarabigezeho, kandi kugeza n'ubu bakigira akamaro mu bigiye bitandukanye. Hari ibikorwa bakora bakavuga ati nubwo cyagiye twarwaniraga u Rwanda kugira ngo turwagure twibohore, noneho reka tunubake bya bikorwa remezo dufasha abaturage bacu twaraniraga ko bagomba kwibohora. Amiwik murabizi ko bigenda bimera, bubaka imidugudu, bubaka ibiraro mu midugudu itandukanye. Noneho nka Shemandi Amiwik noneho izirikana kuvura abantu mu ndwara zidakira. Bamwe bajya gusanga Amiwik yafashe kuvura amaso, Amiwik imyagita kuri kanseri, ku barwayi impyiko. Ingabo z'u Rwanda zarakoze mu kwa mwaravuze ati aho twaba turi hose dufatanyije mu gihugu dushaka kwita twiha umudendezo, tuganira amahoro n'ubwiyunge. Ibyo byose rero babigezeho.
Kwibohora ni urugendo dufatanyije twese hamwe, na Afurika muri rusange, kuko twese twifuza iterambere, kugira umudendezo, kandi ubushobozi turabufite, kandi ko n'u Rwanda narwo ruri gutanga umusanzu warwo mu kwibohora nka Afurika muri rusange.
ubu ngubu u Rwanda ntabwo rukiri igihugu kireba umutekano w'ubuso bw'igihugu gusa cy'u Rwanda, ni igihugu kireba Afurika muri rusange, kuko turi abanyafurika. Niyo mpamvu ubu ngubu ubona rero dufite ingabo hirya no hino zihorana zinasimburanwa, zivayo izindi zijyayo, kandi amashimwe zihora zibona nta muntu utayazi. Ni kuriya kwibohora birenga wowe cyangwa umupaka wawe ukabigeza n'ahandi.
N'ubundi urubyiruko nitwe dufite inshingano zikomeye zo gusigasira ibyo twagezeho. Iyo nsubije amaso inyuma, amateka uko atubwira, urubyiruko rwatubohoye bari bazi icyo bashaka, barihanganye. Rero iyo umuntu azi icyo ashaka arihangana, arakirwanira. Natwe rero tugomba kubigiraho, tukamenya icyo dushaka, tukagiharanira, kabone niyo twahura n'ibidusitaza byinshi bitandukanye, ariko tugakomeza imbere. Byanga byakunda, aho ugomba kugera urahagera. Ushobora kuhagera utinze, ariko urahagera.
Nkatwe dutunzwe n'amashusho, murabizi ko dutunzwe n'amashusho. Kera twarebaga Noir Blanc, ariko musigaye mubona n'agafesi kacu turi ankureri. Ibi byinshi twibohoye, hari iterambere twagezemo. Friend, muri 24 hours iterambere.
The logic of liberation is to turn bad things into good things. What Rwandans have achieved is undeniably real. But we must stay humble enough to know that our main challenge is sustainability.
Well described the achievements that we have done so far. And many people in the countries where we work, people are asking about what happened, what is the secret of Rwandan people to achieve so many things in a short time and after the genocide of Tutsi. So this video shows the good leadership, resilience and commitment of the people of Rwanda. It's again the continuation of Rwanda Patriotic Army that has done not only the liberation of Rwanda once, but they continue to contribute to build the country, infrastructure, health system, and contribute also to international peacekeeping beyond our own country, but to reach the whole Africa. So this is a celebration today and remembering the effort of great people who have contributed to Rwanda liberation and who are continuing to build the country. The next on the agenda is the presentation from our invited guests from Rwanda. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Ndole Rulinda. He served in the military since 1st October 1990 till July 2017. He is currently serving under the Reserve Force as site manager. He has attended all junior military courses, from junior to senior command college. He holds a master's degree in managing peace and security in Africa from the University of Addis Ababa. He has held various appointments in RDF, notably as a military spokesperson, as military advisor to the Chief of Defense Staff and military attaché at the African Union in Ethiopia. Lieutenant Colonel, retired Lieutenant Colonel Ndore, is currently a commissioner for peace and security in the Pan-African Movement Rwanda chapter. He's going to present Amateka y'urugamba rwo kwibohora, the history of liberation struggle. Invited guests, thank you for being with us.
Excellency, all colleagues around and friends of Rwanda. Like alluded to before, I'm a retired Lieutenant Colonel, and I'm currently serving under the Reserve Force, which is part of the RDF, as a site manager, and actually working in a project that is agro-related, agriculture and environment, southern parts of the country. I am humbled to have been accorded this opportunity to be presenting on the history of the liberation struggle, and foremost I will wish to say that the success of the liberation struggle and the successes that we are currently enjoying in Rwanda was actually a function of leadership and based on the right causes. Throughout my presentation, I'll be coming back to this factor of leadership, and especially during the military struggle, it was quite a crucial element of success that drove the success of the liberation journey. Let me just take an opportunity to drive you through the issues that led the liberation struggle. Rwanda gained independence in 1962, actually in July, 1st July 1962. But Rwanda, like most other countries, not managed to be liberated, to be independent. It was rather continued on a path of diversion and very strongly controlled by external forces and external politics. We are going to see this evidenced in the beginning of the struggle, of the military struggle, whereby we shall see interventions from external forces to our own affairs and on the battlefield actually. Suffice to say that I will drive you through the phases of the struggle. The military struggle was preceded by a politically organized movement that is the Rwanda Patriotic Front. The Rwanda Patriotic Front was born as a continuation of other struggles which did not succeed, and was born in 1987. So between 1987 to 1990, when the armed struggle begins, the Rwanda Patriotic Front was preoccupied with mobilization activities, with structural organization, and actually rallying the people, the Rwandans, around an 8-point program, which was called the minimum political program. The success of this organization is basically also related with very good leadership. Good leadership from the beginning, from the political side, which covered also mobilization for the war effort in the case the diplomatic means we did not achieve the objectives of the RPF. Finally, in October 1990, all other options and alternatives having failed, the Rwanda Patriotic Front, which had mobilized a big group of young people, both from outside and inside Rwanda, launched an armed struggle. And throughout this journey that we are talking about, we are going to keep coming to certain factors that characterized the struggle, and even after the struggle, which were, in my view, can be summarized as vision, discipline, consistency, and patience. And we are going to see these principal factors always featuring along the journey of liberation. The journey of physical liberation took place from October 1990 to July 1994, when the genocide stopped. However, I will highlight the phases of the struggle as follows. The first phase of the struggle was from October 1990 to mid-1991, which was characterized by the initial successes, but also faced setbacks. These setbacks were mainly due to the loss of Rwanda Patriotic Army lost its commanders the first 3 weeks, top commanders, including the chairman of the High Command at that time, who had launched the struggle, late Major General Fred Rwigema, and until the coming of the current president, our current president, who had not been at the field during the launch, was actually attending his General Command College in the US, and had to leave his studies and come and take over command of the Rwanda Patriotic Army. The death of the commanders also was made worse by fighting foreign armies. The launch of the struggle was also the struggle, the war against mobilized forces, especially from the region, by the then government of Rwanda, and from outside, as far as France and Belgium. So the RPA in the initial phase suffered setbacks, and especially due to poor command until the advent, the coming on the scene of His Excellency Paul Kagame, our current president. I will reiterate that the success of this struggle very much owed to the determination of the youth, because most of the people who are mobilized and who are fighting this war, who started the war between their early 20s, mid-20s, and early 30s, including our chairman of High Command. He assumed the role of leading the struggle in late October 1990, where he was 33 only. And he was among the peers we had in the group. So the first phase of the struggle was mainly characterized by some setbacks and then reorganization, and with the new commander, change of strategy and tactics, which resulted into the second phase, which we look at in time around mid-1991 to mid-1992. This was characterized by change of tactics, actually, that involved a very highly defensive phase. This defensive phase was a situation, if I may describe it, that included digging in and destroying the enemy from well dug in and chosen positions. This is going to be seen throughout the course of 1991 and the first quarter of 1992. Again, survival of this small force, which had suffered setbacks, was highly dependent on very clear command and leadership of His Excellency Paul Kagame. Currently, the youth who and others who will be visiting Rwanda, there is an added tourism trail that is being conducted by companies and supported by the Rwanda Development Board, which can take you along the that liberation journey. And there are several interesting stories that you would have to find out once you back on visiting the liberation trail from Kagitumba all the way to the Virunga Mountains and back to Kigali. It's quite an odious story. Now, suffice to say that phase 2 of the military struggle actually treated the balance of power between the Rwanda Patriotic Army against the Forces Armées Rwandaises, the FAR, which was fighting on the side of government, which was very much supported by foreign armies, including foreign troops, including Congolese, Zaire troops, Belgian troops, French support, and all other foreign armies. But by end of 1991, the situation had changed very adversely against the government forces. The rebel forces had dug in, the rebel force and very apt commander had taken to demystifying those foreign forces, treated the balance of power, as they say. Phase 3 of this military liberation aspect, which was supported by, of course, political and diplomatic efforts by the Rwanda Patriotic Front and the population, includes the conduct of major operations. And this is a phase that we are looking at, especially that begins with a heavy offensive against the government forces that was conducted in June 1992. It is popularly known as the Byumba Offensive. The Byumba Offensive was a demonstration that the Rwanda Patriotic Army was able, even had the ability, the capacity, to neutralize the government forces by taking very big territory in a very short time and defending the liberated territory. This is the phase where we see the function of military pressure yielding political results. It led to a situation in Rwanda where the Kigali regime, which was dominantly led by one party system, was now breaking down and allowing multi-party system in late 1991 and early 1992. And this offensive finally convinced the Kigali regime that they must go to talks with the fighting Rwandese and the fighting Rwandan Patriotic Front and its army. This forced the regime to go to talks, and this actually signifies the beginning of negotiations that took place in Arusha at the end of July 1992. So it was a direct outcome of military pressure posed by the Rwandan Patriotic Army. And this phase and its outcomes be summarized as follows. There were cracks in the one-party system. There was the birth of credible political opposition inside the country, inside and outside the country, and actually inviting the international community to supervise the peace talks and the possible transition to a shared government. It was only supposed to be a broad-based government, inclusive and including the RPF and the other opposition parties, which before were not able to participate in the one state, one party state. Now, unfortunately, two things happen now. We shall look at the intervention of the international community, which was not very useful to the situation in Rwanda, because the evolution of the extremist politicians in Rwanda who are planning to execute the genocide and whose ultimate objective was became
I think we are having a little bit issues with connection with our guest speaker.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hello, we can hear
Can you
you.
hear me now?
We can hear you, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. I think it was a Wi-Fi interruption. I was talking about the second phase of the war, which led to several outcomes, including the credible internal opposition to the one-party system in Rwanda, and the coming in of the international community in the form of the United Nations mission to Rwanda. And then and I was saying, unfortunately, the peace talks that were taking place in Arusha between the government and the Rwanda Patriotic Front was always being interrupted by the extremists who were not interested in peace. And these same extremists were the ones that were planning and actually planned the advent of genocide. So it became apparent that the extremists became more powerful than the positive and progressive forces in Rwanda, and it took over the entire government, even leading or frustrating the death of the president. In April 1994, when the same extremists eliminated the president, then is when we see the advent of genocide in real, in earnest. The Rwanda Patriotic Front and its armed wing, the Rwanda Patriotic Army, was forced to go back on the offensive to stop the genocide. And this was a very tough time between April 1994 and July 1994. It is again here that we see determination, we see focus by and the influence of leadership and command at play, because it was not easy for the Rwanda Patriotic Army to single-handedly stop the genocide, carrying out offensive operations as well as conducting humanitarian operations. In other words, rescuing the people who are being killed. April to July 1994 was a very tough time for the Rwanda Patriotic Army, but because it was a nimble, well-organized and determined and well-led force, it overcame all the adversities that we have said above, especially fighting a larger force, which had increased because the army had mobilized even killers, shares, and support from foreign governments. So by April and March, June, finally the 1st of July, we are talking about 100 days, which were very, very difficult days. and which were gallantly fought by the Rwanda Patriotic Army. I have kind of walked you through the ranks of the struggle, and one of the outcomes of the military struggle was actually the act of integration, because some of the fighting forces who are on the other side were integrated as victory was being realized. And if we talk about the journey of unification in Rwanda, we start with the journey of the army actually spearheading the process of unification and integration. Unless I have been very fast, otherwise I think the basis for the development that we have now and we enjoy today, and the participation that most Africans, Pan-Africans see on the continent by the Rwanda Defense Force, which is a successor to the Rwanda Patriotic Army, is the same spirit of intervening to support others, of trying to engage fully in a way as to stop any other calamities like genocides or grave human rights violations on the continent. I think this is where you see Rwanda never stopping to go wherever it has been fighting, sends forces, because this spirit is born from this liberation struggle. I thank you very much. I thank you, Your Excellency, the High Commissioner, the Friends of Rwanda, and I hope to come back if there are questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, retired Lieutenant Colonel Ndoli Rulinda. Thank you for sharing the great story. It's indeed a strong story. A story of young people who were mobilized to launch an armed struggle. And despite different challenges, they made it on 4th July 1994. They made it because of the strong determination, the focus, the leadership, and the command. I think we can, all of us here, again, congratulate the effort of people who made it on 4th July 1994. Thank you very much. The next presentation will be done by Zephanie Nyonkuru. The Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Rwanda Development Board, RDB. Rwanda Development Board is a government Rwandan entity tasked to transform Rwanda into a global hub for business and innovation by fostering an attractive environment for investment, enabling exports, and creating jobs. Prior to his appointment as Deputy CEO of RDB, Mr. Nyonkuru was the country representative of the USAID East Africa Trade and Investment Hub, where he oversaw activities in Rwanda. Earlier on, Zephanie spent 7 years in strategic consulting, where he worked with World Bank on a short-term consultancy to carry out research related to status of inspection and competition across food and drug industry in Rwanda. Mr. Niyonkuru serves as the chairperson of the board of directors at the Rwanda Airports Company. He is the chairperson of the interim board of directors at the Rwanda Cooperation Initiative and holds a master's degree in finance. He has also undergone several training programs, including private sector development. We are honored here today to have Zephanie Niyonkuru presenting us the presentation of this day about the Rwanda vision. Rwanda we want. Where do we come from? Where do we go? Mr. Zephanie, thank you for your time of being with us today.
Thank you, Moderator. Excellency High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda to Ghana and its delegations, friends of Rwanda, officials from the government of Ghana, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from Kigali. It's a great pleasure for me to join Rwandans and friends of Rwanda residing in Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Liberia, and Sierra Leone for the celebration of the 27th anniversary of the liberation of Rwanda. As Dore mentioned, 27 years ago, our country was liberated and the Rwanda Patriotic Army stopped 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. As it was mentioned by the ambassador as well, this 27th anniversary is celebrated under the theme entitled Together We Prosper. And I want to take this opportunity to emphasize the vision we are building for Rwanda we want. Specifically, as I speak, I'll be answering the question that the moderator has put on board, which is where do we come from and where do we want to go. I will also touch base on where we are today. And it's really worth to note that liberation was possible because brave women and men decided to put their lives at risk. Some of them lost their lives, others are currently living with disabilities, others are still inspiring generations today. We celebrate these brave men and women. The struggle for reconstruction and development that started after the genocide against Tutsi, this struggle continues, and due to the good leadership, now Rwanda is making excellent strides, be in socio-economic development, be on the side of diplomacy, be on the side of peacekeeping, among others. Excellency High Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen, if we probably from an economic and social point of view, if we look into where the country was in 1994, we're talking about a poverty rate which was standing at 78%. These were tough times, we're talking about a genocide that lasted 100 days, where more than 1 million innocent people were killed, and the RPF came on board and stopped the genocide against Tutsi. So the country was really, had gone almost to zero. If you look into some of the statistics, especially on aspects like life expectancy, you realize that around since 1960, and the third Lieutenant Colonel Ndore talked about the independence and the liberation, but since that time, the life expectancy hasn't been higher than 52 years. And this number plummeted to 29 during 1994 under the leadership of the RPF Motanyi. After the liberation of this country, programs and homegrown solutions were crafted to stimulate and boost socioeconomic development. It was a unique situation. It was a situation which required strong leadership. It was a situation which required people-centered leadership. And if again we go back into numbers, up to 2000, the national saving rates was still at 1% of GDP. And if you go on the side of private sector investments, as the moderator said, in my case at the Rwanda Development Board, we focus on the attraction of investment from members of the private sector. But the national investments were only at 18% of the gross domestic product. And the economy was heavily dependent on agriculture, whereby more than 90% of the people were in this sector, and they're mainly doing subsistence farming. Again, still speaking about where we came from, still in 2000, the prevalence rate of HIV/AIDS was at 13%. Malaria-related mortality was at 51%. And the percentage of population in the good hygienic condition was only at 20%. You can really imagine where the country was when you talk about socioeconomic development. Still, going education, we're talking about where access to tertiary education was less than 1%. And the net primary school enrollment was at 72%, and the literacy rate was at 48% only. So there were huge or massive gaps on the side of health, on the side of education, on the side of overall economic development. And the GDP per capita was also around 120, that was 1994. You hear when we start now talking about where we are now and where we want to go, how this liberation of Rwanda led to all of this development that you see, and the visionary leadership of His Excellency Paul Kagame has really also proven to be a model that other countries in Africa and in other parts of the world are actually adopting. Excellency High Commissioner, Friends of Rwanda, if I may probably talk about some of the key programs that were crafted to boost this development. Among the homegrown solutions include the aspects like charter courts. Programs like Girina were brought on board to make sure that people do have access to cattle. Programs like VUP, Mrenje program, we are brought on board. Programs like Udehe, we are brought on board to make sure that people who could not have access to employment, they do get opportunities, especially when it comes to activities like construction of roads, activities like establishment of key infrastructure. And if we look into this, at the end of the implementation of EDPRS 1, or Economic Development and Poverty Reduction Strategy, more than 1 million people were lifted out of poverty. As we speak now, since 2009 or 2009, the government of Rwanda introduced compulsory 9-year basic education to promote primary and lower secondary education for all. And in 2011, this strategy has been expanded to become previous basic education. And all of these are being done to make sure that we create an economy which is centered on services, on knowledge, where our people go to school, where we attract people from other countries in Africa and in other parts of the world, and they come to learn in our schools. Friends of Rwanda, still talking about some of the major achievements that we have made. As all of you know, the world is currently facing a pandemic. But if we look into how the economy was growing before the pandemic, before 2020, in 2019 alone, the economy grew at 9.4%. And actually some of the quarters recorded a double-digit growth. We're talking about GDP per capita reaching more than $900. We're talking about 63 people having access to electricity, and we're talking about more than 30,000 young men and women graduating from TVETs and integrated polytechnic schools. We're talking about 20,000 graduates coming out of our universities every year. And a special attention is being given to science, to technology, to engineering, and mathematics. Definitely with the pandemic, which has affected different sectors of the economy, in 2020, the economy contracted by 3.4%. But of course, this is a trend that was observed in different countries around the world. But with the measures that the country has been putting in place to contain the pandemic, in the first quarter of 2021, we saw the economy recovering again and recorded an economic growth rate of 3.5% if you compare the first quarter of 2021 with the first quarter of 2020. And currently, as we speak, under the National Strategy for Transformation, by 2024, the target is to have 100% in terms of access to electricity. The target is to make sure that we keep increasing and rolling out key projects to support secondary cities, which are really providing massive employment and also deepening development in different parts of Rwanda. And as we speak, the life expectancy stands at 69. And as we move ahead, we target to reach 73. We'll discuss more about this when we discuss our vision for 2050. Ambassador and friends of Rwanda, when we speak about all of these achievements that the country has been able to record, it comes through the good leadership. The leadership that was able to liberate this country, that's the leadership that continues to drive these massive efforts, which are giving hopes, which are giving excellent livelihood, which are giving access to education, which are also making Rwanda a country where any citizen of the world comes without a visa and get a visa on arrival. We have an open visa policy. Talking about the leadership again, and especially on the private sector development, the country has been undertaking massive reforms to make it easy for members of the private sector to invest in Rwanda and generate positive returns. We have rolled out strategies helping companies that want also to start in Rwanda, try their concepts, and if they succeed, they expand to Africa and other parts of the world. When it comes to the ease of doing business, Rwanda is currently ranked number 2 in Africa in terms of the ease of doing business, and number 38 in the world, again, in terms of doing business. When we look into, for example, some other indexes, like the index of global economic freedom, Rwanda is again ranked number 2 in Africa. Ambassador, our friends of Rwanda, talking about the Rwanda I want and where we are heading, the country has developed a strategy, a long-term strategy, which goes up to 2050. And prior to that, on the middle, we also have key targets for 2035. The target is to become an upper middle income country by 2035, where the gross domestic product per capita will reach $4,000 US. And by 2050, we target to reach 12,400 in terms of GDP per capita. And these figures are in dollar. Ambassador, friends of Rwanda, again, all of these are possible. All of these excellent plans are in place because of the good leadership of this country. We've been hosting events, we've been hosting meetings, our tourism sector has been growing. We're targeting to double the revenues that have been coming from this sector, where in 2019, the total revenues from, or total receipts from tourism stood at 408 million USD, and the target is to reach 800 in 2024. Definitely 2020 was a low year because of the reasons all of us know, the pandemic. But with the measures that are being taken, with the programs that are being rolled out, as we saw from the remarks of His Excellency the President, the country is embarking on negotiating investments in the manufacturing of vaccine and other medical products. So we believe that all of this will keep helping us to achieve the targets that we want to achieve, be in 2035, be in 2050, and again, we keep making sure that the citizens of Rwanda, the residents of Rwanda, keep enjoying good lives. Your Excellency High Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen, friends of Rwanda, officials from the government of Ghana, I just once again thank you for having given us this opportunity to discuss where the country came from, where we are now, and where we want to be, with the Rwanda we want. in terms of socio-economic development. And I would like to pause here and once again wish you a happy 27th anniversary of the liberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zefani, for being with us for this celebration and sharing with us the great job that the country is doing to ensure that the population is lifted out of poverty. We heard about different strategies, programs that are being set up by the country to ensure that the economic development is ensured and is inclusive. So many things to celebrate today and to continue supporting. So we are grateful, Mr. Zefani, for sharing with us this good experience from Rwanda. Before we continue our celebration, we would like to acknowledge a representative of our friends in Ghana. As you can see, we can sit here till tomorrow morning because of the good hospitality we are benefiting from Ghana, a peaceful country where we are all enjoying to live. So it's important to recognize in our midst today the Director of African Bureau from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration of Ghana. You are welcome, and we are happy that you joined us today for this celebration. Thank you for coming. After these two presentations about the experience of Rwanda, we have our friends from different countries under the jurisdiction of the High Commission of Rwanda in Ghana. Our friends who are not here, who can join virtually. We have a representative of the community, Rwanda community from Togo, the Rwanda community from Benin, Rwanda community from Cote d'Ivoire, and the Rwanda community from Sierra Leone and Ghana. If Innocent Kabenga from Togo, if you are ready, please share with us your intervention. Nosa Kabenga.
Thank you very much. My name is Innocent Kabenga, and I'm the country
Nosa, we have difficulties hearing you. Try to adjust the connection, please.
Green Growth Institute, Ghana and Benin. So
okay.
It's better now?
Yes, better.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. We can hear you. Hello. Hello.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I said, let's go.
Not really. The line is breaking.
Yeah, do you hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. So do you hear my...
The line is still breaking.
Do I start off? Oh my God, I don't know what is happening. Hello?
Yes.
So maybe let me come later. Please, let me come later, okay?
Okay. Yeah. So while you adjust your connection, let's go to Benin. Gaspar Bizimana, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. The Commissioner of Rwanda Embassy to Ghana, I'm Gaspar Bizimungu, a member of Rwandan community in Benin. I'd like to have what to say about the liberation of Rwanda. Yeah, it is in two parts. The first part is about the conversation Lieutenant Colonel Lulinda has shared with us. As during the liberation fighting, for me, I understand it is in two parts: the time of fighting and the time for liberation in terms of development. Then I would like to ask the Colonel how because they were telling us that the integration of soldiers was challenges. This time I would like to ask how they are integrating the new soldiers to contribute in liberation of Rwanda, keeping the values of RPF, as the soldiers they have a high commitment during the fighting war of liberation. The second part is about RDB, which is in charge of Rwanda Development Board or development of our country, as the journey ahead of Rwanda development and liberation. I can say one thing he has even mentioned. There is a project called SEED, which is supporting the education in Rwanda, especially activity, just for assuring the quality in education. We are taking the RDB for establishing that project in education, for encouraging the young generation to participate in development of Rwanda. Then the second question I have is about the in agriculture sector, where we have, when there is a heavy rain, would like to know the plan of RDB have, so that they can contribute in constructing the modern village as they did in Chiniji, so that the people they can escape the high risk zone and will leave the place where they are scattered for agriculture. The last one is about we have coffee and tea as the cash crops that can contribute in Rwanda or the country development. Then I want to know or to understand how we can develop those two crops in development of the country as keeping the food security for the Rwandans. Thank you. His Excellency. Hello?
Yes. Thank you for the questions. I would
You are
like,
welcome.
yeah, I'd like to ask our guest speakers, Lieutenant Colonel Ndore Rulinda and Nyonghuru, if they are still online, to respond to the questions. Are you there?
Yes, moderator.
Yes, we are here.
Okay, so the first question was for Lieutenant Colonel Ndore about the integration of new soldiers and keeping them focused on the vision of the first group that started the struggle.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Gaspar, for the question. Actually, one of the challenges that the Rwanda Patriotic Army overcame in 1994 was simultaneous integration, firefighting. So, and it means while the forces far that were fighting were being integrated as the Rwanda Patriotic Army was capturing several areas of the country. This is what we call simultaneous activities in military terms, and it would not have been easy if it was not the policies of the Rwanda Patriotic Front. I again come back to the issue of command and leadership, which was central to the success of the liberation struggle. This made it possible to integrate former enemy forces, fighting forces, into own ranks. On the go, the RPA transitioned into a national force, the Rwanda Defense Force, I think in 2002, and it had conducted a lot of integration. Because if I may remind, after stopping the genocide against Tutsi, there was a heavy insurgency that was fought from across the borders of Rwanda, and this insurgents required the Rwanda Patriotic Army now not only becomes a formidable force, strong force, but also a national force. And integration continued throughout the period between 1994 beyond 2002. Now, how does the RDF maintain the original spirit of that was displayed or portrayed by the RPA? It is the same factor. It is the same factor of good command and good leadership, because this trend learned through the transformation of the army from a rebel force to a national force. And actually, I think it is the RDF is representative of a national army, reflection of a national army today, of course, more than the the RPA was, because it's really an institution that you have to join on application and selection by rightful methods. So joining the RPA is now a highly contested opportunity to serve the RDF, and I think that's why we have an excellent force. I may remind that the first peacekeeping mission that was conducted by the RDF was in 2004, 2005 in Darfur. And this was a testimony to the process of integration having taken place. So the RDF is much more national force, which is Pan-African in outlook, if I may use that word. This is a robust force because it's composed of all the Rwandans' all rights. But I hope that answers your question. Yes.
Yeah, I understood. Thank you, Kanu.
Thank you. The next three questions for Zephany. One is, how do you encourage young generation to participate in the Rwanda development? The second is the modern village to ensure that the agriculture establishes strategies for avoiding high-risk zone. And how do we promote the cash crops, coffee and tea?
Thank you very much, Gaspar, for the question. The first one is related to encouraging the youth to contribute, to actually have been contributing, but to even increase their participation and also ensure that to increase their productivity when it comes to what they contribute in the national development. We have quite a number of programs that targets youth, and majority of these are structured around employment and entrepreneurship. We specifically, among other programs, run, for example, a program where we support young graduates to be able to transition into the labor market right after graduation. So this program includes internship, where we take young graduates, place them in some of the institutions that we work with. So we sign MOUs with government agencies, with institutions from the private sector, and we give opportunities to these young graduates to be able to take internship for 6 months. We give them some stipends, which again help them to be ready for the labor market. Number two, we have been also partnering with other development partners like the MasterCard Foundation. Currently we're running a program which is geared at equipping youth and other people in the hospitality sector, equipping them with customer care, communication, and English skills, which again we believe that is one of the things that help them to become competitive at the labor markets. And again, we have been working also with BDF, with development partners to also provide some training, entrepreneurship training, and also support access to capital for youth to be able to roll out their projects when it comes to really ensuring that they get access to capital and also they really get the right financing that they need to be able to start their business. So it's definitely something that you work on with other partners, but it's again a specific activity that you focus on. If you remember, we used to have, the government used to have institutions like a capacity building board, All of this we have brought to the Rwanda Development Board. So we have Chief Skills Office, which focuses on those aspects to do with the labor market integration and also skills development with a special focus to the youth. The second part of the second question that you asked was related to the to agriculture. With regard to agriculture, I think before I discuss to the high-risk zones and also some of the villages, I think it's really worth noting that the agriculture sector policy is structured around making sure that we increase on the area that is irrigated, to make sure that we increase the yield per hectare. Number two, making sure that we increase the level of mechanization. This is something which was around 25% in 2017, and under the National Strategy for Transformation, the target is to reach 50% in terms of mechanized farm operations. And there also another third element with regard to agriculture is consolidation of land to be able to increase on the production. So from investment point of view, there are quite a number of projects that are going on. We can talk about, for example, the KWIBOHORA Agriculture Hub, which will be on a size of land of 15,000 hectares. But now the development or establishment of infrastructure is happening at 5,000 hectares. And on overall, from macro level, the target is to, move from consolidated land equivalent to 600,000 hectares. This is the number from 2017, and to be able to reach almost 1 million hectares in 2024. So now talking about the risk zone from our perspective as the DRDB, as I mentioned, you have interventions which are related to tourism, and when you go at the national parks, one of the things that we do is to take 10% of the revenues that we generate from parks. For example, if you have people coming to see Big Five in Akagera, if you have people who go to see, let's say, mountain gorillas in the Volcano National Park, we take 10% of the revenues and we utilize those revenues. We invest those revenues, 10%, in the development activities of the communities around the park. So that's where, in some cases, we construct classrooms. That's where we construct houses for some of the, vulnerable families or families with low income. We support in terms of education of their kids. We establish some income-generating projects which really help these communities to generate income and also see what these parks brings to them in terms of the revenues and in terms of improving their life. So the aspects of high-risk zone from our perspective as the ARDB really comes in those development activities, especially when it comes to the communities around the park. But at the national level, talking about agriculture, those are really the four major elements that I can allude to. Basically, irrigation, mechanization, also terracing, and then number four, consolidation. Lastly, you asked about the cash crops. You alluded to coffee and tea. These have been really some of the major export top earners. Currently, when you talk about foreign exchange earner for services and for the entire economy, we talk about tourism. But when you go into the commodities, mining, coffee, tea, hides and skins, pyrethrum, they have been really driving our exports. And when it comes to coffee and tea, the focus is more on the value addition. Really making sure that as we collect or harvest coffee, we do full washing and also do the roasting, because these high-end coffee are the ones that sell at a premium in the international market. So that's really where the efforts are. And the same applies to tea in terms of really making sure that we working with the Minagri, we categorize excellent practices which lead to the harvest of high quality coffee from mountains where some of the investors actually invest into value addition, where you have some blending, you end up with tea bags, which again help in terms of securing premium prices. But the key thing that I can also mention here is we've been really making sure that we diversify the economy so that our exports don't only depend on tea and coffee. Over the last few years, we're seeing a major increase in terms of the revenues that we've been collecting from horticulture, and this is mainly around the flowers, which are currently being exported to Europe, to Middle East. We're also talking about tea, which is being exported again to Europe. We're talking about also fruits and vegetables, which are being exported to Europe and also to Middle East. Probably recently you may have heard of a major contract which was secured with Carrefour in the United Arab Emirates. They have more than 120 outlets, and the contract is secured where farmers from Rwanda are supplying some fruits, passion, avocado, which are actually sold in the different outlets of Carrefour. So the idea really here is to diversify our exports. We add value to the traditional sectors that we're leading to, like coffee, like tea, but we really develop other additional sectors which also help in terms of generating more revenues. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stephanie. Though we would like to stay here till morning, that we don't know about the weather. It might rain. So for the other interventions, we are going to give you one question and 4 minutes only if you have any contribution. So Innocent Kabenga from Togo, are you online now?
Yes, I am. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Innocent Kabenga, and I'm the country director for the Global Green Growth Institute here in Lome, but also covering Ghana and Benin. I would like to thank the embassy and the speakers and all the invited guests to have all this very good organized Liberation Day. I have 3 points. I will go very fast. I don't have a question, but my contribution that to us and others who will follow this, especially young people, I will just remind ourselves that being liberated also is try to understand what you can lose if this liberation was taken away. And from this, I would like to emphasize to the communities living abroad, diaspora. I have been part of diaspora many years in different countries. We need to know that if we don't contribute to our country, then we are really failing those who liberated Rwanda. Number 2, even if you have second, third, fourth citizenship, we always have to remember that we have only one pillar citizenship, which is the Rwandese citizenship, where your parents, grandparents, and all live there. There is no one who can take you away. Citizenships can be stripped away depending on the constitution of the countries where you are. The last point is to the youth. The current youth in Rwanda, I call them the lucky youth, because when I was at their age, if I was to tell what I went through, it would take 2 days. So I would like to really emphasize to the young people who will follow this or who are following this, that the number one thing they need to know, they have to understand the current and ancient history of Rwanda so that they can be able to build a Rwanda that will not be, tempered again, the Rwanda that will not be disturbed again. Thank you. Those were my points.
Thank you very much for being fast and insightful. Pacifique Kayura from Côte d'Ivoire, are you online?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Your Excellency, High Commission, retired Lieutenant Colonel, who gave us a wonderful presentation right away, and representatives of the government of Ghana, dear fellow Rwandans, dear guests, dear all Rwandans living in this region, greetings from Abidjan. My name is Pacific KWIBOHORA. As you just heard, I am working with the African Development Bank, and I am the chairman of the Rwandan Community Association in Côte d'Ivoire. So ours today will be a word of thanks. A word of thanks to the government of Rwanda, a word of thanks to the embassy that is representing us, and the two different Rwandans living here. I would like to thank the government of Rwanda under the leadership of our President Paul Kagame for establishing this day. This is an important day of the history of Rwanda. A day we look back and we remember where we come from and where we have been and where we're going. So this is an important day, and I really thank the leadership of Rwanda, which has made this struggle of liberating our country a foundation to build on everything that we have achieved and the hope for tomorrow. I would like to thank our embassy. I would like to thank Her Excellency, our ambassador, for this event and for making it possible for all of us to be part of it. Thank you. And on behalf of the Rwandan community in Côte d'Ivoire, we thank you for your support and for everything that we receive from you. And I will not delay. I will just ask one question. It may be to any of the presenters of today. When we talk about the struggle of liberation, there is an important message that has to go to the youth. And today we are living in an era of technology. So my question is this: how much investment is being made in that area, especially of media, because that's where the youth is today, to document the struggle, those stories, those wonderful stories, for the youth to know it more through movies, through documentaries, anything that will be interesting the youth to know more this struggle on which our history is built and which will be very important for them for the future. So I will not dwell on this. This is what I had to say. It was just to thank you for giving us this opportunity and say that the Rwandan community in Côte d'Ivoire, we are grateful because a lot have been achieved and can be seen today. We enjoy good relationships existing between our countries, including having, for example, a free visa here in Côte d'Ivoire, coming to Rwanda, coming from Rwanda. So this shows how much we have achieved in these years. So I thank you. That was the only question that I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pacific. Lieutenant Colonel Ndori, would you respond to Pacific question?
Thank you, moderator. I hope I'm clear. Pacific, uranyumva neza?
Ndabumva neza. Murakoze.
Thank you. I think maybe Mr. Zefani will add from the perspective of the Rwanda Development Board. But I will have this to say. The aspect of documenting the liberation struggle, and I will allude the role of the Rwanda Development Board, there is a lot of work that has been covered of recent, and I will first of all refer the Liberation Trade, which is a project run jointly by the RDB as a tourism aspect, actually a new product of tourism, and I have had the opportunity to work with the RDB and the RDF on this subject. There is a liberation trade which is composed of museums and other artifacts. There are actually three very tangible phases of the liberation trade. One of them is the campaign against genocide, the museum of the campaign against genocide that is located at the parliamentary buildings. If any one of you members of communities visit Rwanda, please take the opportunity to visit the museum of the campaign against genocide, because it is going to give you a very good overview of especially the part 4, the stage 4 of the liberation struggle, which was to stop the genocide. But I will also quickly refer you to another National Liberation Museum now taking shape in Murindi. It's at an advanced stage of its construction, and is going to host a lot of artifacts and information regarding liberation. It is also a conserved, in Dutch is normally in military terms what we call a fighting bunker that belonged to the chairman of the High Command by then and currently His Excellency, our President, 1991. If you visited all these areas, you will really agree with me that history is being documented, even with a practical way. And I think books will be coming to reinforce those physical structures that have been put in place. Today, you can walk basically the rings of Rwanda on the liberation trade and learn about those phases of the war and what happened in time and space, from Kajitumba to Nyagatare to Byumba to Ruhengeri and the Virunga Mountains, again back to Kigali. I think history has been documented physically, is being documented. Movies, there have been movies. I think during the 4th July celebrations, we had also a movie that was being recast, which is the 600. It is called the 600, which reflects 600 soldiers that were positioned at the CND, the ones that bore the brunt, the big fight of saving people in Kigali before they were reinforced by their other battalions from Byumba. And I think it is a very well documented story. So I would say that people who are going to study this history 20 years, 30 years from now are going to have a lot of references. I think there will be more encouragement for movies because the Rwanda Development Board has put up an opening for young Rwandans actually to participate in creative movie making, which includes the liberation story. Thank you, Pacific, for a very good question.
Yeah. Thank you very
Thanks a
much.
lot.
Yeah, thank you very much for well elaborated response. We'd like to hear from Sierra Leone, Kamugisha Innocent. You have 4 minutes.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening to you all. My name is Innocent Kamugisha. I work in Sierra Leone. I'm working with the World Bank. I represent the Sierra Leone community in the World Bank, but currently I'm seated in Kigali. So I'm at the same time zone with the presenters. I appreciate the presenters for their sacrifice to be with us at this time after working hours. Your Excellency, the High Commissioner, the Ghana community, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, myself, I don't have a question. I'm just giving a contribution of what I know and what I have witnessed. Even 4 minutes, and I will make sure I use them or less of it. From the presentation, the two presenters, if I interpret it very well, it is divided in two parts. The first one is politics. The second one is policy and development. When I talk about politics and policy and development, we in Rwanda, we are bilingual. Sometimes we may confuse things. Where politics and policy may mean the same, but me, I'm not meaning the same. Politics is more of what Ndore Rurinda was talking about, and policy and development is more of the RDB discussion. So if I go ahead with your permission, I think from the politics or political discussion, I have experience because I was evolved from the struggle, not as a soldier like Ndore, but as a civilian who was in the struggle, because during the establishment of RPF, there were two wings. There were those who were performing military activities, and the others, civilians who were performing other political activities. But all of them were supporting each other. So I know the history, but what I wanted to say is, from the leadership, from the vision and everything, what happened was actually exemplary for us. We were young and we were doing by just advised as we were advised, but the experience shows that in everything there is what we may call symbiosis, which means in any struggle, every effort is important, not saying that they are weak or strong people. Every effort was important, and it was recognized during this struggle, which led us to where we are now. I'm talking from the civilian perspective. Ndore should not misquote me. Another thing I would say from policy and development. Okay, before I go to policy and development, whatever we did, we are doing it to our own fate and our own destiny. But I've come to realize when I came to Sierra Leone, I found out that Sierra Leone was taking Rwanda as a role model. And everything they were talking about, it was just referencing to Rwanda. Everything they want to do, they want to come to Rwanda to see what Rwanda is achieving. Even yesterday I received a request, people want to come to Rwanda to see how they are doing CPIA, what they call CPIA. So you find that whatever we did, whatever we are doing, is being appreciated by other countries, and we are role models. We are point of references in political development. Let me go to policy and development. I worked because one of the discussion points was about agriculture and GDP. We know agriculture contributes a bigger percentage towards the GDP of Rwanda. And I happened to work in agriculture for 10 years. Before I joined the World Bank. And
Mr. Kamudisha.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Try to be quick, please.
Yes, 4 minutes are not yet there, and I'm concluding. I'm counting.
1 minute more. 1 more
minute.
Minute. Thank you.
Okay. I would say that we cannot, Rome was not built in 1 day or in 1 month, so we cannot reach the target in a way other people may wish, but I wanted to allude that we have gone a very big step in development concerning the agriculture, concerning transformation, and concerning the vision of economic diversification in agriculture and the other areas. So I think I'm told my minute is over, so I wanted to say that whatever we are doing, we should be a role model, and I have witnessed that other countries have appreciated our performance, and we should be the ambassadors in those areas. Over. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamudisha. We are now coming back home in Ghana. Claude Dusabumuremyi, you have 1 minute. We give you 1 minute because we are together, so we can meet any time and thank you.
His Excellency, High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda in Ghana, honorable guests, Rwandan, the Friends of Rwanda, good evening. So I don't have a lot of things to talk about because some have been said, so my word is to thank. I really thank the government of Rwanda for the biggest impact that has been, and I thank also Rwanda patriotic arm, and now we are enjoying the best and success that Rwanda patriotic arm has achieved. We are in peace. We are very proud to be in Rwanda, the country which is wished by any citizen in this world to live, visit, and stay. I really thank the good leadership we are having in Rwanda, which contributes high to well-being of each Rwandan from after genocide till now. I thank the good leadership and I call all the youth to contribute more to social transformation, development of our country by using all the opportunities that our government is exposing to us. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Claude. I think we are almost at the end of our discussions. I would like to invite the chairperson of the Rwanda community in Ghana for the vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Josephine, the moderator. On behalf of Rwanda High Commission in Ghana, and on behalf of Rwanda communities in Ghana, Ivory Coast, Togo, Benin, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, we would like to extend a vote of thanks to His Excellency Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, for a key message at a day of liberation. Oh, you can still put your hands together for him. Also, we would like to extend our appreciation to Her Excellency High Commissioner, Dr. Isaac Kirabo-Kakira, and the team, High Commission, who have put everything together to make this day possible. We can say, well done. Likewise, we would like also to extend our gratitude to the representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Regional Integration of Ghana, who had a busy schedule, but today she is with us to grace this occasion. Kindly put your hand together for her. Madam, we do appreciate. Furthermore, we would like to appreciate the presence of, I always call him Chief, Professor Clement Jedenu, who is here today also to grace this occasion. He has been with us throughout since we had every occasion he's here. So we have every event he's with us here in Ghana, supporting the Rwandan community. Also, would like to appreciate the media, those ones, the technicians who are putting things together to make this day become a reality. Please put your hand together. And also would like to appreciate the audience, those ones who are here and those ones who are far in different countries, friends of Rwanda, for being with us from the beginning to the end. Because without you, we could have been able to achieve our objectives. Above all, would like also to thank Almighty God, who makes all things possible. He started also with us, and he's ending with us. May all the glory be to him. I say thank you once again. Long live Rwanda. God bless you.
Thank you, Chairman. So I think we had very, very interesting deliberations. We'd like to stay here, continue discussing, but because of time, we have to limit here the discussions. And yeah, there is another plan after. We have to celebrate, to share some refreshments, some drinks. And up to now, we can thank God for having protected us during this plan we had, and then to bless the refreshment we are going to have together. So I would like to invite Betty to lead us in a prayer.
Let's humble ourselves and pray for the food, and we thank God for the refreshments. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your love. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for your grace. Thank you for being with us all the time that we've been here. Father, we thank you for the refreshments, the meals that you've prepared for us. Father, bless it and bless whoever that is going to have it. And those who have not got, Father, please stretch your hands and bless them and provide to them. We thank you in Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Betty. For those who are online, I think we wish you the rest of the, the day. Try to celebrate with friends you are with, and we keep connected.
Yeah, just I forgot to thank the key speakers. The key speakers. I mean the main speakers. That is Chief Nyonguru at RDB and Lieutenant Colonel Ndori. They took us through the history of struggle, the history of liberation, and they told us where Rwanda was that day, then, I mean, where Rwanda is today, and where Rwanda is supposed to go tomorrow. So we thank you very much, the key speakers, and we wish to have you another time when you have a bigger event. And also to the moderator. I forgot the moderator. Oh, please, put your hand together. We wish to have her in the biggest event because, in fact, people say you have shocked us. You have done it very well. We say in Ghana, Aiko, and in Rwanda we say, urakoze cyane. Imana ishimwe.
Urakoze.
Ndimatanya umucyaro utemeranwa umukore mwikotanira ry'abahize bidashaka nshingura rushinguka mvuga ibigurutinduka mbona badahinyuka nyirga bayimara mwaganitabira intambara ntagishyika. Amacuma hindi ubugeni ngo gendure vuba nkayingira ngahitabara itaraho.
Can we come together for a group picture?
Urugamba rujya guhinda rwabangeremera na kimihura ntwari urugamba ngo rurahinda runiga wabisha ku kimihura umujyi w'u Rwanda twese urugamba ngo rurahinda ruganza nyikurwa mu abyumba iminega yikiranya n'imikorere umva urugamba ngo rurahinda akimari twazigenze bitara yeza ziraririmba tugabye zirakomera ntwari umva urugamba ngo rurahinda akimari twazigenze bitara yeza ziraririmba.
Hello. We can please have the group picture on the stairs. So let's go to the stairs to take the group picture.
ndi nkotanyi y'umukera utimiranwa umukore mu ikotaniro ry'abahizi bidashakasha nshingura rushinguka mvuga ibigurutinduka mbona abadahinyuka nyiriga bayimara mwagana itabira intambara nta gishyika amacuma ahinda ubugini ngo gindure vuba nkayibungira nkayitabara itaravuga ku kimi